Welcome, lovers. This is the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you're on the Nice and Naughty Hour. And before we get started tonight, I want to do a special shout out and dedication of tonight's show to our resident master, Vox Noir. I reached out to him because, as you know, we're doing a 3-part series on BDSM. Vox Noir is a very knowledgeable, experienced, and generous master. And he did what a master is supposed to do, a good one anyway. He understood the need I had. He clarified it, helped me to clarify it, I should say. And then he guided me into a deeper understanding of what it was I was trying to get across tonight. So in all aspects and with 100% sincerity and gratitude, I want to dedicate and thank our resident master, Vox Noir, for helping me with tonight's show. And with that, let's get started. Welcome, lover. I'm the Naughty Scribe, author, businesswoman, and your host for the next hour. This live stream is dedicated to love, sex, acceptance, and understanding the lifestyle and ultimate sensuality. Trust me, lover, the knowledge I drop will be straight, no chaser. So sit back and prepare yourself. It's about to get naughty. Welcome back, lover. Again, this is the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you've tuned in to the Nice and Naughty Hour. So we're going to just jump into it with our what the fuck moment. What the fuck? Okay, so as most of you in the community know, there's been a big dust-up between Ellen DeGeneres, someone you do not fuck with, period, because she's just so nice, and Kim Burrell, a very famous and now infamous gospel singer. Now, here's the brief of it before I show you the really fucked up part about it. Kim Burrell and Pharrell were going to appear on the Ellen DeGeneres show to sing a song from the movie Hidden Figures, okay? Supposed to be a blowout performance. A few weeks before they were to appear on the Ellen I'm a Lesbian DeGeneres show, Kim Burrell did a sermon at a church in which she, and I quote, stated that basically homosexuals have a wicked spirit, that they are confused and delusional, and the basic bullshit that you hear from Bible thumpers who feel superior enough because their dirt is hidden behind a closet for the moment, because what is in the dark soon comes to the light, felt the need to basically proselytize on the sins of homosexuality. Now, let me be clear. Kim Burrell has the right to believe what she wants to believe, to say what she wants to say, as long as it's not slanderous, because there are laws against that. You can't just say any kind of shit. But she has the right to her opinion. She has the right to her belief. She has the right to her faith. The reason that this became a what the fuck moment for me was on my Twitter feed, because, you know, lovers, I'm a member of the community, of the alternate lifestyle and sensuality community. Yes, occasionally I like girls too. I have to watch as people feel the need to defend their humanity because Kim Burrell put her ass up on her shoulders and decided that she was judge, jury, and God Almighty. But here's the problem that I have with Kim Burrell. When you go out and you bash people, own your shit. Okay? Especially if you're hiding behind the Bible and faith to do it. Okay, there is a group, I will not mention their name, most of you know who I'm talking about because I've talked about them before in the show, who believe homosexuality is AIDS is a punishment for homosexuality by God. And they go around to the funerals of homosexual servicemen who have died in the line of duty. They go to these funerals and basically hold signs calling them all kinds of nasty names and protesting the funeral. Now, mind you, the person that they're angry with is dead, so they don't know and don't give a shit about what you're saying. But the people who are left, who are mourning the death of the loved one, those are the ones they're inflicting pain on. These worthless motherfuckers own their shit. They don't hide behind, oh, the devil made me do it, or somebody's misconstruing what I said. When they were asked on camera by reporters, numerous reporters, on what they were doing and why they were doing it, they own their shit. They didn't make excuses. They said, yes, this is what we believe, and we're going to be out here and do this until we get people to understand it. Okay, you're worthless motherfuckers, but you own your shit. You own your shit. What Kim Burrell did was she got happy and started proselytizing to a group of people who were like-minded. No one was going to challenge her on what she was saying, or the hypocrisy of what she was doing, or the lack of judgment of what she was doing, or her lack of character. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. No one was going to challenge her because they were all amen and hallelujah what she had to say. However, when it became a backlash, when, oh my God, other people had a differing opinion and were just as passionate about their disagreement with what she had a right to say, suddenly you get a fucked up apology that basically says that this is a machination of the devil, that he's making this out to be something it's not. I'm not a hateful person because I've never told a gay or a lesbian to their face that I hated them. No, honey, you just did it on camera in church. But I digress. You have got to see this fucked up apology for yourself. Wiley, can we get that video clip real quick?
I'm going to just sit this right here until I can get whoever wants to be on to be on. I have had a lot of years in the eye of the public doing what it is I do. And everything that I've ever done has never, ever been just for the public. I'm signing on here because people matter. And I'm not running from anything. I love you guys too. Don't you all listen to me. Listen to me. Don't you become frazzled. We're not in a war against flesh and blood. We're not in a war with that. Hi to everyone. We're not in a war against flesh and blood. I came on because I care about God's creation. And every person from the LGBT and anything else, any other kind of thing that is supporting gay, I never said LGBT last night. I said SIN. And whatever falls under sin was preached. Now, what was posted was not all I preached too. But only that. Isn't that something? That is designed of the enemy to make it look like I have a personal agenda against people. It's a heartbreak, but it's the world we live in. We fight for so much, but for the right thing. To the carnal, all things are carnal. And to the spiritual, all things are spiritual. Don't you understand? I know that people are going to be.
Now, that's the meat of what she said. Then she goes on to talk about how those who are supporting her know that she's fighting the good fight. And she keeps repeating that this is basically a situation that the enemy, aka the devil, is twisting and using against basically a righteous woman. No, Kim, it's not. This is you saying something that was hurtful and devilish to a group of people that you don't even know, and you're being made to own it. Now, you could have been woman enough to say, hey, look, these are my beliefs, but if I hurt anyone, that was not my intention. You didn't do that, because that's what an apology is. You know, as a Christian, we're told that before you can truly apologize, you must repent, because you have to acknowledge the wrong that you did. And quote, your words, and lovers, you can literally go to YouTube and see that video. But And if not, trust me, I have it. It will be posted. But her exact words were that perverted homosexual spirit is a spirit of delusion and confusion and has deceived many men and women, and it has caused a strain on the body of Christ. That is what you said. Okay, so let me repeat. That perverted homosexual spirit is a spirit of delusion and confusion. Okay, so no, Kim, you did not say lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgenders, and others. You know, you did not. That's like someone coming in and calling you a nigger, but not actually saying the N word. If you fucking know what they meant, they said it. Okay, this is where I have a real problem with Miss Burrell. Okay, first, the judgment. You did this sermon knowing full well that you and Pharrell in a few weeks were going to go on Ellen, I Am a Lesbian, rich bitch, famous lesbian show. Now, let's be clear. Presidents have gone on Ellen's show. Newscasters have gone on Ellen's show. Activists, politicians, people that you may not always agree with. And trust me, she's had some one day. I'm like, really, Ellen? Really? Okay. But the point is, she's been open to have a variety of people on her show. You did this, basically calling this woman and the community that she is a part of perverted. And just because you didn't jump out and say LGBT, you did make the statement. It wasn't a confusion about who you were talking about. You did this weeks before you're going on this woman's show. Here's where I feel you had a lack of judgment to even do that. Here's where I feel you have a lack of character. If you truly feel the way you do about the homosexual spirit, then the last thing you should have done was accept an invitation to go on a nationwide show hosted by a lesbian who, according to you, has a perverted homosexual spirit. Because if your principles and your faith are that strong that you could do this at a church weeks before you to go on this show by a lesbian, by someone of the gay community, then the last thing you would have done was accept the invitation, because after all, these are your beliefs and principles. And beliefs and principles don't mean much if you only use them when it's convenient. The other part that I have problem with Ms. Burrell is the hypocrisy. So let me just put it as bluntly as I can. You need to pull the rafter out your ass before you point to the splinter in somebody else's eye. Okay? Let's just call it what it is. You have a lot of dirt in your background. You have sinned. You do not walk across water. Hubris, Ms. Burrell, is in fact a sin. And hubris, in case you don't understand what that means, it is believing yourself to be so high and mighty, so superior to anyone that you have the audacity and feel you have the right to pronounce judgment, proclamation, or anything else on them. You see, when I believe in the Lord, I believe in the Lord to talk to Mary Magdalene, a prostitute, who healed her menses and told her, sin no more. He didn't tell her she had a sinful spirit. He didn't tell her that she was confused and delusional. What he did was he reached out in love to a sinner and just said, don't sin anymore. And then he proceeded to be generous with her in the spirit of godly love, and she became a follower. In case you didn't know this, here's a little something from me to you. Do what you will with it. You will get more respect when your critiques are laced in true love as opposed to self-aggrandizement and hypocrisy. If you say it, own it. And if you truly have a repentant heart, just give a clean apology. Just say, I'm sorry for anyone's feelings that I hurt. These are my beliefs, but they are my beliefs. And I never meant to cause any emotional or any other harm to anyone else. Walk in the steps of the Son and the Father and express true love. Don't just preach it and hide behind it to do your dirt. Okay? that's my 2 cents on the fucked up bullshit. And in case you didn't know, I'm a Ellen Booster in every aspect on this one. With that said, we're going to go into our first break, and we'll be back in one.
Welcome, lover. I'm the Naughty Scribe, author, businesswoman, and your host for the next hour. This live stream is dedicated to love, sex, acceptance, and understanding the lifestyle and ultimate sensuality. Trust me, lover, the knowledge I drop will be straight, no chaser. So sit back and prepare yourself. It's about to get naughty.
Welcome back, lovers. I'm the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you've tuned in to the Nice and Naughty Hour. Now that we got that what the fuck bullshit out the way, let's get into the real meat of tonight's show. Now, tonight's show... Thank you, darling. Now, tonight's show, as I said, is going to be about damnation. We did that part. Dominance, we're getting ready to get into it, and desire. Now, remember, I dedicated this show to Vox Noir, our resident master, and I want to read to you... He's going to kill me for this, but I'm going to read to you what it was that basically guided the show tonight. I reached out to Vox and I asked him, and he's been on the show before by phone, so he's not a stranger. I asked Vox, hey, look, I'm doing this 3-piece series on BDSM because we have a lot of people asking questions about it, and they're not really sure. And unfortunately, that 50 Shades of Grey has got people thinking that's the end all be all, and it really wasn't. So as a master, as someone who is an experienced master, I wanted to get some intake from him on what he thought was pertinent to get out to the audience. And this is what he gave to me. He said, I think what often gets overlooked is introspection and honesty. People tend to be attracted to what they believe being dom or sub is, and rarely take the time to figure themselves out enough to determine if what or who they desire to be is truly within their reach. In the same vein, knowledge of your limitations versus your desires is extremely important for both doms and subs. Just my opinion. Well, darling, to you, our resident master, Vox Noir, 2 tits and a kiss, because, darling, that is exactly part of what I've been trying to express to our audience. Where you call it desire versus limitation, I call it that internal porno movie that everybody plays in their head until they're smacked in the face with reality. So with that said, let's do a quick reminder of what BDSM stands for. BDSM stands for 3 different disciplines or factions in the alternate lifestyle. For bondage and discipline, dominance and submissive, sadomasochism. Now, the S&M part we're going to get into next week. We've already talked about the B and the D, which is bondage and discipline, not dominance, bondage and discipline. So if you missed out on it, check out the show a couple of weeks ago. All right. Now, the dominance and discipline is basically this. You have a top and a bottom. You have a person who takes charge of helping someone explore the limits and the depth of their sensuality in different veins. And then you have the bottom, or the submissive, the person who is being guided, the person who is actually seeking to be taught, seeking to be trained, seeking to explore, and seeking to abandon limitations and explore different freedoms through sensuality. Now, that being said, there are different types of dominance and there are different types of submissives. So we're going to go through a few real quick. The first class of dominance or dominance is what most people think they know. And these are the masters and mistresses. Not mistresses in somebody fucking around with somebody's husband. mistress as in the female version of a master. And a traditional, or at this level, a mistress master dominant, because again, we're talking about different levels of dominance, different flavors of dominance, I'm sorry. This is someone who seeks compliance from their submissive or their pet or slave. And we're going to get into that later. But compliance is number one factor. It means that you give up your free will, because the reverse or the flip side of a master-mistress relationship is a slave. And a slave, again, is that person who willingly gives up their free will to their master or mistress. It basically means that if I trust Wiley, and there is a trust factor here, never forget that. But if Wiley, for instance, is my master, I, as his slave, give up all right to anything except my safe word to let him know that I've reached a point where I need to take a break. And as a caring master, he will respect that. But outside of that, the way we play, how we play, what we explore, when we explore it, how long, unless I give a safe word, and to what intensity we explore, I have no say in. I have given all that over to my master, because my master and I have a trust level where I know my master is not going to do anything that is going to harm me. And because I have faith in that, and my master has demonstrated that, I need not be concerned about what it is my master wants me to do. If my master asks me to bark like a dog, I'm going to bark like a dog. If my master asks me to wear a 9-inch butt plug, I'm going to wear a 9-inch butt plug. Okay, and hope my master is happy with the way I display it. Okay, that is what it means to be in a master-slave type of dominant relationship. So the master-mistress, that is someone who seeks complete compliance from their submissive. The next one is what we call a mommy-daddy type of dominant. Now, again, remember, we're talking about different flavors of dominance. Not everything is what you saw. And I'm not bashing 50 Shades of Grey. I know some of you think I am. I'm not. It's just that for some of you who are newbies or a bit on the vanilla side, who want to explore the more intense and erotic sides of sensuality, you're using this as if it's a blueprint to what the alternate lifestyle is in that area. And I'm sorry, honey, it isn't. If you check out the interview from the author says point blank, the story of 50 Shades of Grey was basically a romance that they spiced up with BDSM, with dominance and submissive. And of course, they did the stereotypical version, which is an authoritative male and a gullible, eager, young female who needs to be basically trained and brought along by an experienced, worldly man. Okay, here's a newsflash, sweetheart. In the BDSM community, women are just as likely to be tops as opposed to bottoms. You will be surprised at how many males are complete pets, are complete 100% sissified, are deliriously happy to be a pet to a strong female dom. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. So again, don't think I'm bashing 50 Shades of Grey. For what it was okay. It was entertaining. But for those of us who are in the lifestyle, we saw some shit in there that a true dominant, a good caring dominant just wouldn't fucking do. And that's because the person who wrote the movie wrote the book wasn't writing it based on experience. They just researched a few things and tossed it in there to beef up what was basically a run-of-the-mill romance. Rich man, poor young woman, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy beats the shit out of girl, boy falls in love with girl, and off they go. Okay, with some kink thrown in the middle. Okay, trust me, I'm a writer. That's formulaic. Okay. That being said, the next flavor of dominant is the mommy daddy. Now, the mommy daddy is in a way what you think it is. It has nothing to do with incest. Let's be clear on that. It has nothing to do with people who want to get with children. No. But what it is in some communities, you'll have men refer to themselves as, that's my son and I'm the daddy, meaning that I'm the older, wiser one, and these are like sons to me. Doesn't mean that they think they're children, but it means that they take on a role model type of figure or role with these younger men, or with these men that they feel need to be brought along in a loving way, like you would a son, someone that they need to impart advice to and guidance to. In the same way, you have a mommy-daddy dominant. Mommy-daddy dominant is actually more affectionate. They're freer with their affection. They are very nurturing with their training. And it has a lot to do with a separation in age, meaning that as a mommy, if Wiley, he's going to kill me, if Wiley were my little, as they're referred to, as a submissive, if Wiley were my little, I would basically refer to him in a juvenile way. And to emphasize that, I may have him dress in a way that emphasizes he is not to be treated as the adult in this role play. I'm the adult. He made some people, and they do, have their littles wear diapers. Some have their littles wear, and we have a couple of pictures up. Some have their littles dress in schoolgirl uniforms or schoolboy uniforms. Some littles actually wear bibs. Some littles wear clothes that are appropriate for a particular time, historically, for juveniles. So it has nothing to do with wanting to be with an actual child. No, that's pedophilia. We ain't talking about that bullshit. And if it ever happened, I'm calling the cops. Just letting your ass know. That's not what being a mommy-daddy dominant is. A mommy-daddy is, I'm the adult, you're the youngin', and I need to broaden you. I need to guide you in a loving and affectionate way until your sensuality, so that you may develop to a level where I can consider you an adult. Now, I will tell you, in a mommy-daddy situation, that ain't never going to happen. The fun of it is always the lessons, always nurturing, always the role play, okay? And again, as we talked about in the last show, even in the DS scenarios, the dominant and submissive scenarios, sex does not always play a part in it. And that's another thing that famous book and movie got wrong. Alternate sensuality does not always mean fucking. It means sensual. It means something that arouses you, that pleases you in a carnal way, but it does not necessarily lead into peg one fitting into hole B. It doesn't always come to that. It can just be for the feel of it, for the excitement of it, for the naughtiness of it. Okay? So again, don't always assume that BDSM, S&M, or B&D has to always result in fucking. Now, I will tell you, it's nice when it do. And if that's the vein that you're in, the erotic part of it, as opposed to the esoteric part of it, great. But at least know what the fuck you're into and what you're going to do. And we're going to get more into that later. Okay, so after the mommy daddy, we have what we kind of touched on briefly is the femdom. Now, the femdom is a female. Femdom is always a female. I know some people want to confuse it with something else. A femdom is exactly that, a female dominant. But why does a femdom deserve her own category? Because a femdom has more to do with the sissification of a male dominant, of a male submissive. Now, we're going to get into that in a little bit. And we talked about this before. This is not a bad thing. I'm saying humiliation. I'm not saying it in a bad way. And let me emphasize this. There are people who enjoy having someone ride roughshod over them. I'm sure in your daily lives, you have seen a husband and wife team where the wife seems to be the husband and the husband seems to be playing the wife's role. He has no initiative. He has no drive to him. The wife has all that. She might even be the breadwinner, because I actually had close friends that had that exact situation. He stayed home and took care of the children. He cooked, he cleaned, he fucked when he was supposed to fuck. She was the breadwinner. She had a serious job. She made damn good money. She took care of the entire family. Some people would look at that and go, damn, he's a weak ass motherfucker, to be at home. No, he was like, are you kidding? I get to raise my boys. I get to take them to school. I get to take care of my household, and I get to take care of my wife. On the other hand, the wife didn't have to cook, didn't have to clean, didn't have to worry about running back and forth to doctor's appointments with the boys, because he did it all. That's what worked for them. Doesn't have to work for everybody. It worked for them, and they were very happy in that relationship for many years. So all I'm saying is, sometimes you see what you perceive to be something abnormal because it doesn't go with what society says is supposed to be the norm. A very dominant man, a very submissive, compliant female, and children who worship the ground you walk on. No. There are different levels, and unfortunately for some people, different varieties of family. There's single parent families, there's same-sex families, and in this particular instance, there are role exchanges in our family units. This is important when you think of a femdom, because a femdom can have a female submissive just as easily as she can have a male submissive. But one of the things that a femdom is known for is that if she takes on a male submissive or a male pet or slave, however you want to refer to it, he is sissified, or he is humiliated, meaning that he is placed in a female's role, and the femdom will assert her dominance in a masculine way. This could be something as simple as having the submissive or the slave given a bitch name or a sissification name. This could be something as simple as having the submissive dress in a certain way that takes away their masculinity. While they're in play mode, you are not allowed to even feel or refer to yourself as male. You will refer to yourself as female or in a feminine type of role. So a femdom is a female dominant in every sense of the word, but she specializes in the sissification or feminizing of a male slave. Now, some of you may think that that's kind of harsh, but you have to remember, for every action, there is someone who seeks that reaction. There are men who enjoy putting on lipstick but can't do it in public. There are men who enjoy putting on dresses and stockings but can't do it in public. There are men who enjoy high heels, who are straight as hell, but can't do it in public because they don't want the backlash of being considered transgendered or gay. Just like there are men who enjoy, and we talked about this in our segment on pegging, there are men who enjoy anal sex. They are not gay. They like getting it from a woman. There's nothing about a man that remotely excites them, but they can't admit to it because, again, if a man has anyone or anything playing his ass, he's got to be gay. Okay, even though, which I find funny, women who enjoy a little bit of Greek, a little backdoor action themselves, no one ever calls us gay for that. Just saying. So before we get into our different varieties of subs, we're going to take one more break. back, lovers. I'm the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you're on the Nice and Naughty Hour. Now, we're going to wrap up our getting it in segment with the bottom half, appropriately enough. Now, the bottoms are the submissives, and there are, again, just like there are different varieties of masters, there are different varieties of submissives as well. For instance, a traditional submissive that everyone knows about is called the slave. We talked about that a little while ago. A slave, as a reminder, is someone who willingly gives up their free will to their master. But this is because their master has earned that level of trust from them. So if, again, Wiley is my master and he wants to do a certain kind of play, I don't question it. I don't think about it. I just do what my master tells me to do because I know emphatically that my master has my best interest at heart, that my master is going to help me explore certain levels and depths of sensuality that I cannot or am afraid to do on my own, and that my master has my well-being first and foremost at heart. And because I know this, because my master has demonstrated this with me, I don't worry about free will. So in a mistress or master slave type of role play situation, the slave, the bottom, gives up their free will completely. And again, that is only because the master has earned that level of trust, okay? Because let's be honest, there aren't too many people in this world that you would give up your total free will to. That has to be someone that is above and beyond reproach. And that is what a true good master or mistress is. Someone that you can give up your free will to because of that level of trust. The next level of bottom is called a pet. Now, let's be clear on something because I talked about it and I got some confusion. Okay, because I talked about dog training. A pet is not someone who has to pretend to be an animal because this person, their master, really wants to fuck an animal. That's not how that rolls. A pet is someone who is treated like a prized possession, as if they were a prized pony, a prized puppy or kitten, a prized bull, okay, a prized pig at a state fair. That is not something that you would be dismissive of or kick to the curb or treat as disposable. In fact, that is an entity like most guys with your cars, okay? It could be the most torn down piece of shit on four wheels, but this motherfucker will be out there every weekend waxing and polishing it, putting Armor All on the wheels because that's his shit. Okay, and he's proud of his shit, probably because the motherfucker's paid off. And I'm gonna tell you something now. It could be a messed up, rusted ass piece of shit, but if the bill is paid, I'm loving it. And it gets me where I gotta go. You a limo to me, boo-boo. But that's what a pet is. A pet is not a replacement for an animal for bestiality. It's not. It's a person who is treated as if they are a prized possession. Now, this prized possession is not human. Which is why they're considered a pet. So yes, there are a lot of leashes, a lot of collars. There's a lot of butt plugs with tails and feathers and fur and all kinds of shit hanging out their ass to help with the illusion that this is my prized pet. This is my prized pony, my prized kitty, my prized bunny, whatever you want to refer to it as. This is my prized pet. And a prized pet is pampered. They're not treated as a human. They're not referred to as a human. And it's not, again, always for sexuality. It is for the thrill of it, for the kink of it, for the sensuality of it, and sometimes, yes, for the fuck of it, literal fuck of it. But a pet is, again, a bottom who is treated as a prized possession that just does not happen to be human. It can be referred to as my prized kitty. And here's a news flash, guys, before I hear about it. A kitty can be a guy. Yes, darling. You can be a prized kitty. Women, you can be a prized puppy. It all depends on how that master is rolling and what they are drawn to, what they would pamper, what they would preen, and what they would smother with affection. But again, you have to remember that the master is on top, and as a pet, just like you've seen pictures of me and my Jack Russells, okay, I love my babies, but I'm the mommy. they stay in their place. And a pet always stays in their place. And one of the ways a master does that is to make a pet remain on all fours most of the time, or on their knees, but most likely on all fours. And again, a pet doesn't really look their master in the eye. So just so you know, if you go to a nice little BDSM party and somebody walks by with a nice little long horse tail coming out their ass, they're a pet. Okay. And like I said, pets are usually adorned. Masters, just like I like to buy dumb shit for my dogs just because I like seeing them in it. They could give a fuck. A master with a pet will do the same thing. Next we talked about is the little. A little is the bottom from the mommy daddy top bottom relationship. Now a little is different than a brat. We're going to get into a brat in a minute. A little, not to be confused with a brat, is a bottom who seeks affection and seeks protection and seeks guidance in a juvenile-ish kind of way. So again, it could be something as simple as a mommy having a little who is male who needs to be taught how to become sexually mature, who needs to be taught how to become emotionally obedient, just in a way that a caring mother would discipline her child. A loving mommy, daddy dominant will take on that kind of tone and that type of role play with a little. Remember, this is all consensual. A little is someone who wants a mommy. A little is someone who wants a daddy, who wants someone to answer to, who wants someone whose respect they have to earn, who wants someone who's going to guide them, and when necessary, someone who's going to put them in a timeout, someone who's going to punish them, somebody who might have to spank them occasionally, somebody who's going to have to scold them every now and then. Okay, so that is something that is sought, that is desired by the little, which is the bottom half of the mommy daddy top bottom or dominant submissive role play. Then we have the brat that some people tend to confuse with the little. A brat is what it sounds like. A brat is basically a willful, disobedient submissive who's doing it on purpose because they want to provoke their master. They want to provoke their mistress. For instance, if a brat doesn't feel like they're getting spanked enough, they need to be spanked enough, they desire to be spanked, and master hasn't felt that they deserved it or earned it, a brat will do some dumb shit that will provoke a master to say, okay, you know what? Fuck this. You do need to be put in your place, and I will do this. Now, they don't decide on how the master is going to discipline them. That is the master's role to decide. Because remember, even though they're acting out and even though they're being manipulative in a known way, but even though they're being manipulative to get that reaction or to get the attention from the master, they don't decide what that reaction or what that discipline is going to be. That is the master's decision at all times. But that is the difference between a brat and a little. A little seeks to always please and be more than obedient to their mommy and daddy, because that's what a good little does. A brat, on the other hand, master isn't showing me enough attention today. Master hasn't disciplined me today. Master hasn't scolded me today. Master hasn't beat my ass today. Okay, so I'm going to act up and I'm going to make you see me. I'm going to make you give me attention. That is what a brat submissive does. Okay, and it takes a strong mistress and master to handle a brat, because by nature, a brat kind of wants to, as the phrase goes, top from the bottom up. Okay, they want to be a quasi master, but they don't have the skill or the, I won't say heart, but they don't have what it takes to be a true master, nor do they really want the responsibility, because there's a lot to being a top than you realize. Bottoms, I'm going to say it because I'm a switch, you kind of do have it a little easy in that role. A master is responsible for quite a bit. So, and there's a lot of responsibility for a good master, and a brat doesn't really want that responsibility. So again, a brat is a sub who is being disobedient, but they're doing it in a known way because they want to garner attention from the master or their mistress that they're not getting at that moment. And like a brat, they're acting out until they get what they want. Then we have what we talked about earlier is the sissy. The sissy is a male, primarily a male, who enjoys being feminized and humiliated by a strong dom. Sweetheart, okay, thank you. By a strong dom. And this is usually a femdom, okay? Now, don't confuse this for a same-sex relationship. We're talking about a femdom sissy relationship. And that sissy is exactly what it sounds like. In some cases, to emphasize the change, the swap in roles, a femdom may have her sissy wear a dress, wear lipstick, wear heels, put them in a complete role. But here's the thing, not all sissification has to do with humiliation. Some men are very attractive, and you've seen them. Some guys walk down the street and you go, damn, that's a pretty motherfucker, meaning that he looks good as a male, but damn, with the right get up on, he'd be a damn good looking woman. Some femdoms will do that. They will beautify their submissive. That's still a way of sissifying them. They still have to play the female role. So again, a sissy belongs to a femdom. And a sissy is not a punk motherfucker or a gay whatever. That's not it. A sissy is someone who is feminized and usually humiliated, but someone who is feminized for the pleasure of the master and the pleasure of the submissive. So again, as a femdom, I might have a very good looking male that I think looks just devastating as a female. And I will not dress him in a way that makes him look like a parody or a mockery of a woman. I will dress him in such a way that he could go down the street and earn some bucks on a corner because that motherfucker looks good, and I like seeing him that way, and he likes being dressed that way. And trust me, a femdom takes probably more care in the way they accentuate that character for that role play to please their master than maybe most women do for their man when they're going out. I'm just saying, okay? The opposite of that is the femdom who is doing the sissification and humiliation for that purpose, to emphasize, I'm on top, I'm the masculine, you're the bitch, you're the femme. In which case, their dressing up, their feminizing of their submissive is done in a ridiculous way. Lipstick that looks horrendous, a wig that basically looks shitty, or they might put them in a getup that makes them look like, Beaver Cleaver's mother. But it's to emphasize that you are the woman, I am the man in this particular scenario, and you will do as you're told. And part of you doing as you're told is me taking away your masculinity. And to do that, you humiliate your sub. So remember, lovers, there are different classifications of subs. There are different classifications of tops or masters and mistresses. And one of the things that I was really appreciative of Vox Noir bringing out was, and I'm going to read it again. In the same vein, knowledge of your limits versus your desires is extremely important for both doms and subs. Basically, we're going to get into your fantasy versus reality, because when those two come into contact with one another, it is not always pretty. We're going to do that after we take a quick break. I ran a little. Welcome back, lovers. I'm the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you're on the Nice and Naughty Hour. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about introspection and honesty, as well as limitations versus desire. And this is important before you jump into any type of alternate sensuality, but especially before you jump into BDSM. Okay, it just is. And one of the things that I was very appreciative of Vox Noir bringing out was that people don't always take the time to figure out themselves before they jump into something. And what we mean by that is you see something, let's say you are curious about a particular scenario or about a particular role. For instance, you think it's sexy and it really does get you a little wet between the other lips, or it makes you a little hard and drippy at the thought of a strong lover taking command of you, ravaging your body, restraining you, doing all kinds of naughty little things to you that you've seen on porno movies or other forms of entertainment. And it really arouses you, and you really keep getting drawn back over and over to that particular type of stimulation and titillation. Okay? That does not mean that you are really a sub. That does not mean that the shit you're watching on your screen and you're beating off to or you're masturbating to is who you really are. Because remember, and I can say this honestly as a switch, and that was something that Vox and I talked about. It took me a year to realize that, yes, I am dominant, but I am also submissive. And trust and believe, back during that time when I entered into the dominant lifestyle, I didn't know that there was anything called a switch. I honestly thought that I wasn't doing dominant right. I had a very great submissive, a very powerful man in the corporate world who needed a strong hand. We met through different friends, made connections. We were very compatible with one another. He is someone that I gave assignments to. We talked about this before, that I literally presented him with a butt plug that he would have to wear in the boardroom. He would have to wear in meetings, and he would have to prove to me by different things. I would call him during the day, email him occasionally, and ask him to perform certain acts for me. And then when we met up in the evening, he would have to give me a report of everything I asked him to do. This is what a sub was supposed to do. Now, there were times during this play that I had with my sub where I wanted someone to do certain things to me that were not masterly, okay, that were truly in a submissive role. It was that this person was not the person to do this for. I never felt submissive or compliant with this individual. It was always I am on top and he was on bottom, and that worked for us. But I always also had these feelings of wanting to let go of my dominance, of wanting to have someone take control of me in a loving and sensual way. Are the two opposed to each other? Not at all, because again, I didn't know during that time that there was such a thing as a switch, someone who is genuinely both submissive and dominant, and a lot of it can depend on the partner that you have. My former co-hosts, Dark and Lovely, as you know, were playmates of mine as well, and Freaky One, or I said Dark and Lovely, I meant to say Dark and Freaky. Freaky One, the husband in the trio, was dominant with me. With him, I could be submissive. The flip side is another friend of ours, who is a playmate, I could never be submissive with. In fact, I'm the one to control the play. So again, you can have someone who is, as we say, a switch. Doesn't mean that you're a bad dominant, doesn't mean that you're bad submissive. It means that you can literally enjoy and completely commit to both. It took me a year to figure that out. When I discussed this with Vox, one of the things he said was, at least you figured it out. There are individuals who go into the lifestyle who haven't even who don't even attempt to figure out what it is they really are or really want. For instance, you are in a dominant submissive relationship. It is a relationship, even if it's only as playmates for that scene, or in most cases, a serious dom and master relationship, which means it goes outside the bedroom. It's not just for kink and erotica. You are in a relationship. You may not be actual boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife, but you have a commitment to each other. And part of that commitment is, as a submissive, you will not perform or role play with anyone in that role outside of your master. You may have fun with your wife, you may have fun with your husband, but when your master calls you, you come. When your master wants your attention, you give it. When your master requires something of you, you perform it. And this is not just something that happens today or tomorrow. This can span for years or a lifetime. It just depends on the dynamics of your relationship. But please understand, a dominant submissive relationship is a relationship, and it requires a lot of trust. But in order for that to happen, you have to figure out yourself. You have to, first of all, realize that that internal porno movie that you're playing in your head is not reality. For instance, if you are turned on by the image of someone being spanked, and trust me, I love a good spanking, but that shit hurts. And you can spank someone the wrong way. If a little pain, and they're called pain sluts, so we're going to admit to it, there are some who enjoy a little bit of pain, some enjoy a lot of pain, okay? If you don't like pain at all, but you're getting off on movies or entertainment or watching your friend spank his wife because he's letting you watch, and that gets you off, that just means it's a kink for you. It just means that it's an erotic trigger for you. It does not mean that you're that kind of submissive, that you're into it. So if you were to go to a particular master, for instance, we're going to get into next week, who's into S&M, trust and believe, spanking is going to be part of that repertoire. If you get hit with a flogger, a paddle, or a good swat with a well-oiled and gloved hand, and you realize that shit hurts, here's a news flash for you. You didn't really think about that shit before you jumped into it. Maybe you're not into that kind of role play. Maybe you're more into being a pet. Maybe you're more into being a little. Maybe you're a brat. Okay, there are different flavors of bottoms, just like there are different flavors of masters. Maybe the reason you don't like being spanked is because what you're really seeing is something you want to do to someone else, but you're confusing your erotic reaction to someone being spanked or someone being humiliated with the desire to have it done to you, when really it's your desire to do it to someone else. Until you really talk it through and sit down with a true reputable master, you should not jump into something just because it looks good and you think it might feel good, because that's one of the easiest ways you can get yourself hurt emotionally and physically. And also understand this, to be a good submissive or to be a good dom requires time. You have to put in time with that individual. You have to put in time in that scene. You have to put in commitment to do it right and to do it for this person on a consistent basis. This is not something, even if it's even in the bedroom, it's not something you just jump into for the hell of it. Now, not saying that you can't get into a little D and S, because, hey, you know, it is sexy to have your lover, you know, tell you, we're going to do this. Not ask you, tell you, we're going to do this. And ladies, let's be honest. We do get a little thrill when we come home from work. Our lover is clearly in the mood. They don't say shit. They grab us by the hair of the neck. They bend us over the sofa, lift up our skirt, pull down our pants, and proceed to pounding. That is a dominant, and that is sexy as shit. Now, does that mean that we want to be strapped to a rack in 2 more minutes, that we want a ball gag in our mouth and a butt plug up our ass? No, not necessarily. But if you do, then, you know, it's considered a good night. At least it is for me. But I'm just saying that a little bit of kink, a little bit of little naughtiness, a little BDSM in your sexual life does not necessarily mean that you're a sub or a master. It just means you like a little kinky shit. Okay. But until you talk to your lover, your partner, or your potential master, until you really sit down and figure out what it is you want and what it is you truly, truly desire, and there is no one size fits all for that. Until you really know what it is that your triggers are and what they truly represent, you cannot jump into any type of relationship, and you damn sure better not be jumping into something that could potentially be harmful emotionally, physically, as BDSM, because it is intense. It is an intense level of sensuality, and it is not for the faint of heart. Okay, and lovers, before we wrap it up, and we're getting ready to, just a little bit on the naughty news. Okay, lovers, hip hip hooray and hallelujah. The website, the store is up and running. Yes, lovers, you can now go to niceandnaughty.com and you will see all our little goodies. And yes, I've already heard it. There's only lingerie for the big girls. Well, sweetheart, us voluptuous vixens need some seriously desirable gear, okay? Love you, skinny bitches, and I do mean that with all sincerity. Do love you, but y'all can get your shit anywhere. But to find lingerie, corsets, crotchless panties, and the whole nine that look good on my 250 ass, we need some specialization. So yes, I'm going to have some stuff for my little ladies, but right now, the majority of the lingerie on there, yes, I already know it. That's why it's called lingerie plus size. It is for my voluptuous vixens. Now, that said, that don't mean I don't have shit for everybody else. It just means we're catering to our voluptuous vixens. The new book will be out in about 3 months. Do check out the website, because we are going to be offering a sneak peek into it, as well as a naughty little download. And definitely go to the site, because next week we're going to actually post the contest. I know my girl Kita is gonna be mad at me, but I didn't have a chance to finish it up before I came in tonight. So we're definitely going to start that next week, and we're going to add a little something extra for you guys being patient. So we're going to do the poll giveaway finally. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, lovers. And remember, life's nicer when it's naughty. Good night.